Let's take a quick spin with my new Primal Rights CPS primer. So this is the CPS competition primer seeder, I think is what it is. Priming seeder, I think. Anyway, I owned one of these a couple years ago. I got rid of it when I started loading on a progressive. Kind of wish I never had got rid of it. So I'd been in the market for one, happened to find somebody looking to get rid of it. So I was able to pick it up for a few bucks less than a new one, but I would have easily paid for a new one if I had to. Yes, I know that they are expensive, but what good tool isn't? So let's get into what it does and why I love it. First off, it is just incredibly robustly built, and it uses, easiest way I can explain it is it's a reverse, it's a reverse arbor press. Okay, so inside is almost the same thing here. You've got a direct drive, you've got a gear with teeth on, or a rod with teeth on it, you've got a gear, and when you pull the handle, it is a direct relationship in the handle to the ram. You're just doing it this way, okay? So that's what this is doing. When you pull the handle, it's basically a reverse arbor press for your priming. And I love that because I've used other systems. I'll say like the RCBS isn't bad for the money, but it's not great because you can exert more force on the handle than actually transfers up to your primer. It takes a lot of practice, and you really got to concentrate when you're using it because it's hard to directly transfer the same amount of energy each time to a primer, and that can make things tough. So you have a direct drive system. You have a ram that pushes a very simple, essentially a gauge pin, straight up into your primer and into the primer pocket. It utilizes flat, I don't know how else to say it, but it utilizes flat, I think these are Lee style shell holders, so you do have to make sure they're the flat ones, no nipple or whatever on the bottom, no stub, so like if you have this kind it won't work. So you do need the flat style. But other than that, it's very simple. I have the large rifle primer chute on it. There is a red one that is small rifle. It'll probably never see my system because I don't ever load small rifle, but nevertheless, it comes with both. And then it comes with a couple primer pickup tubes. I happen to use the Frankfurt Arsenal Vibra Prime, which I absolutely swear by for filling primer tubes. You can fill a primer tube in about 20 seconds. With one of these things, maybe 30 seconds if you're really struggling, and it saves my hands a ton of trouble. So I've got a tube loaded up. Okay, so here's my primer pickup tube. I did learn a long time ago from a couple other people on forums that if you do put a rubber band around the little chute, it does help you make sure that you are fully engaging the primer chute forward, because you are using this mechanism to move a primer into the ramming side. If this does not come all the way forward, or if for some reason it wiggles backwards, then this won't work. So I simply put a rubber band back here just to make sure that when I shuttle a primer, it is making full contact to the front. So that's just my little thing for it. This wheel down here adjusts your height. And something that makes this unique is that you've got a, let me see here, let me draw something for you guys. Okay, so you've got a ram that is down in the mechanism here that pushes that pin that I showed you that then goes to your primer. So this is your primer, right? And then your shell holder is sitting up top here. And so what you can do is this ram will physically bottom out on the underside of this plate here. And you want that because you want this handle to stop. Like, it's a hard stop. You can't overcrush. You can't do anything like that. So what you do is you actually set this thing so it's all the way deep. You set your primers. You take your measurements. And you essentially find where you want the primer, and you can measure with calipers or with like the Accuracy 1 gauge, and you're going to say, oh, okay, it's negative 6 thousandths or 4 thousandths, and then you simply put that loaded or that primed piece of brass back on here. You lower the handle, and then you just turn this clockwise, and this handle will start to fall. So it starts to come down, and when it stops, you know that this is bottomed out, and then you can make some final adjustments, because then you know you're right in that range of that ram bottoming out. So you set one, you measure it, maybe it needs to go a little deeper, you set it 1/1000th, this is, each turn is 1/1000th, and then you go to a hard stop again, but then you know that it's constantly making hard contact and you're not going to overseat. Now mine is set for about 6.5 thousandths. See if it makes me a liar here. Well, I'm at a bad angle because I would normally be over it. So 6.5 thousandths. So if I do a couple here, and just in case you think I've already did these, empty, empty. So let's see what kind of liar it makes me. So 7.5. So I'll settle for anything within a 1/1000th range. 6.5, 7.5, 6.5. So they're all within 1/1000th. Now, why am I okay with that? Well, because there's going to be some minor variation in the thickness of the cups and where the anvils are placed on a primer. And I don't sort my primer, so I have to accept that there is a limit. Since I am crushing a little more than normal, there could be a primer that allows for a little extra, a little less. I also have uniformed all of my pockets using, I have a K&M, but I have gone in and uniformed all of my primer pockets, so I know these all measure the same. But what I haven't sorted for, and what I'm not going to sort for, is actual rim thickness. Now this one measures out at 525. I can tell you that just randomly grabbing them, I've seen like that one's 510. You will get a variance in rim thickness, and if you really want absolute perfect identical seating on your primers, you will have to sort by your rims, because when this pushes, or any primer, it doesn't matter, like literally every primer system has the same problem, is that when it pushes up, you are at the mercy of that slight rim inconsistency as far as how far the primer can go. So for me, I know that this will be roughly 1/1000th variance on the rim, therefore I'm okay with a 1/1000th variance on my final seating. But you can see I did 4 or 5 real quick. They are all within 1/1000th variance on the seating depth. I know that that seating depth is what works for me, but I've also done a lot of testing on it. So what I would recommend is, no matter what system you're using, is go test at flush, 2/1000ths, 4/1000ths, 6/1000ths, 8/1000ths, whatever you want to do. Be careful as you seat deeper, because as you crush more, you do risk, setting off a primer, and there is a limit to how much you can crush a primer before it detonates. So don't be stupid. But I've tested anywhere up to about 9 or 10 thousandths crush. For me, I happen to like 6.5 thousandths, 7 thousandths right in there. So for me, 7 thousandths means I can be at 6.5 to 7.5 on my variance, and I'm very happy with it. But you can see how fast this is. You can see how fast I'm shuttling primers, putting brass. I can knock out 100 in, literally minutes, and know that they are exactly where I want them. So if you are tired of messing around with rinky-dink priming systems and you literally want to get the best, this is it. Yes, you're going to pay for it, but again, what good tool doesn't cost some money? And I'm just a fan of buying the right tool that does the right job, and just getting the job done, so I can take that part out of the equation. So I now have the zero press, which has eliminated a bunch of variables for me. I was lacking in a good priming system. I now have my Primal rights. It has now removed this as a mental variable for me, because I know it's doing its job every single time. So there you go. Hope that helps. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.